Imagine you are standing at a self-checkout in a grocery store in suburban Ohio. You scan a gallon of milk and a pack of ribeye steaks. You tap your phone to pay. Transaction declined. You check your balance. There's plenty of money. You try again. Declined. A notification pops up. Monthly carbon allocation exceeded. Animal protein access restricted. Look at this closely. The problem isn't that you're out of money. It's that your money has been programmed to decide what you are allowed to buy. By 2045, the concept of private property dies. Currency is no longer a neutral medium of exchange. It is a permission-based system of administrative authorization. Central Bank Digital Currencies, CBDCs, aren't just faster digital dollars. They are smart contracts that turn your income into a temporary allowance, conditional upon your compliance with social and environmental metrics. Think with me for a second. Today, you think the money in your bank account is yours because you worked for it. In 2045, that effort only buys you a seat at the table, not a guarantee of service. Your mandatory digital ID is your only link to reality. Without it, you cannot open a door, board a train, or access the internet. This is where the thing changes. The government doesn't need to put you in a physical cell when they can simply revoke your permission to interact with the world. It's a silent administrative shutdown. The convenience of the cashless society was the bait. The trap is a reality where every cent you spend is a data point used to judge your right to spend the next one. This is where the choice vanishes. We accepted tracking for the sake of security and speed, but what we received was the total transfer of individual sovereignty to a centralized technical infrastructure. This isn't about a social credit score in a distant land. It's about the integration of your purchasing power with your behavioral data right here. If the system predicts that your consumption habits will lead to a future healthcare cost or an environmental deficit, it doesn't wait for you to act. It adjusts your reality preventively. The power this technology creates is absolute because it operates on the invisible layer of survival. You are still free to walk the streets, but every step is conditioned by a yes processed in milliseconds by an entity that lacks empathy, only possessing directives of efficiency. The normalization of this process is what should keep you up at night. We are being trained to see our autonomy as a liability. The point isn't the camera on the corner or the chip in your phone. It's what happens to your life when those tools decide you aren't aligned with the current social goals. If you spend where you shouldn't, or if you communicate with people the algorithm deems high risk, your world simply begins to shrink. The coffee shop door won't unlock, the car won't start. The problem starts here. Technology is no longer a tool you use. It is a rule you must obey just to remain visible in the economic cycle. And it's already happening. An 18-year-old student in Seattle checks her phone. Her access priority just dropped 3 points because she spent 4 hours scrolling through non-productive content instead of her mandatory skill update modules. Now, her transit pass only works for off-peak hours, and her high-speed internet is throttled. Behavioral AI doesn't care who you are. It cares how much you cost the collective. Today, you are evaluated at your job. In 2045, you are evaluated by society itself. Look at the shift. Your value is no longer moral or ethical. It is purely operational. You have become a variable on a dashboard that decides the priority of every service you consume. Through real-time productivity analysis and social interaction monitoring, the system builds a permanent economic profile. Every conversation, every search, and every minute of idleness generates a signal that feeds your utility score. The risk here is direct. When curiosity becomes a signal and your gaze becomes a metric, spontaneity dies. If you stop to watch a sunset or linger in an unplanned meeting, the AI interprets this as a drop in time efficiency. The cost of this surveillance is the total erosion of personality. You stop acting on desire and start acting for the reward of the algorithm. This is where the will vanishes. This isn't sci-fi. It is already appearing in patents for effective computing and intent recognition systems. The mechanism isn't just to watch you, but to predict the cost of your existence to the system. If the AI detects a pattern of discontent or low social cooperation, it doesn't wait for a crisis. It preventively adjusts your risk profile. This means you are never truly alone. The system is a mirror that only reflects back the image of the perfect social employee. If you don't recognize yourself in that image, that is your problem, and the consequence is your administrative invisibility. The metric becomes the rule, and the rule becomes your destiny. This isn't a human judgment which would be subject to error or mercy. It is a statistical process that determines if you are an asset or a liability. Technology acts as the silent judge of every gesture, and this is already happening. Human value has been reduced to a dynamic barcode where the only way to exist is to ensure the system always sees a profit in keeping you active. If the cost of processing your existence exceeds your return, the algorithm simply stops investing in your social presence. It is a cold, mathematical exile. A father in Denver sits at a birthday dinner. His watch vibrates. A high-priority task has been assigned to him by the regional labor platform. He has 120 seconds to accept. If he refuses, his reliability metric drops, and his family's health insurance premium spikes by 15% next month. He leaves the table. The concept of a career is a relic of the past that the total algorithmic labor market has buried. In 2045, you don't choose a profession. You are summoned for a momentary function determined by immediate system demand. AI-driven platforms manage task allocation so granularly that human time is sliced into microseconds of raw productivity. Think with me. Employment is no longer a place or an identity. It is a series of instant dynamic contracts that expire the moment the task is finished. You have no stability because the very idea of permanence is seen by the system as a market inefficiency. The massive replacement of humans by machines didn't eliminate work, it just made it disposable and hyper-competitive. The mechanism is brutal. If you cannot perform an economically relevant task at the exact moment the algorithm requests it, you lose your spot in the resource distribution line. The cost is perpetual anxiety. You must be available 24/7 to be useful because the system never sleeps. The problem starts here. Your survival depends on your ability to be the cheapest, most efficient gear in a machine that recalibrates itself every second. This is already visible in the evolution of the gig economy and automated recruitment processes. The point isn't the allocation technology, it's the power it gives to whoever controls the selection parameters. The algorithm decides who works and who waits. It does this based on performance metrics you will never have the full access to challenge. The social result is a mass of individuals who are no longer citizens but service units in a state of permanent readiness. This is where the choice vanishes. If the system decides your skill set isn't needed today, you are automatically downgraded in the social priority hierarchy. There is no notice period. There is only the absence of work notifications and the subsequent freeze of credits in your CBDC account. Technology treats labor like an electrical current. If there is no conduction, the circuit is opened and you are isolated. Your identity is defined by the task you are doing right now, not by what you have built over a lifetime. If you are not useful for the next minute, you are not useful at all. The system no longer asks if you can afford something. It asks if you should receive it. In 2045, resources are no longer bought freely. They are allocated based on your systemic priority. Look at how the logic changed. Automated logistics and AI consumption forecasting have created an environment where scarcity is surgically managed. Smart rationing is not a crisis measure. It is the normal state of a controlled economy. If the energy management AI decides your individual consumption has exceeded what is deemed socially productive, your power is cut in real time. This is where the thing changes. Think with me. There is no longer a full shelf for everyone. The distribution of essential goods, from groceries to high-speed bandwidth, is filtered by your social utility score. The real mechanism is the total integration of your needs with your operational merit. If you are a high-productivity element, the algorithm grants access to premium resources. If you are a cost to the system, you receive only the bare minimum required to keep your biology functional. The cost of this is the death of consumer freedom. You eat what the system decides you need to keep working tomorrow. This is where the dependency becomes absolute. This is already appearing in smart city prototypes and predictive logistics patents. The point isn't delivery efficiency, it's the control over the destination. The power this technology creates is the ability to dictate who lives in comfort and who survives in programmed scarcity. You cannot turn to a black market because every transaction requires the digital ID and programmable currency the system itself controls. Isolation isn't done with walls. It's done by cutting the flow of goods and services to your automated door. You are trapped in a cage made of data. The problem starts here. The social consequence is a caste system where people live in a state of constant deprivation, not because the world lacks resources, but because they lack relevance in the algorithm. The system uses scarcity as a social training tool. If you want access to the good life, you must increase your contribution metric. Technology is no longer a life support system. It is the filter that decides which lives deserve the best support. In the end, human value is weighed in kilowatts and calories. If the math doesn't add up, the system simply shuts you off, and it's already happening. A 42-year-old software architect in Austin stares at a pulsing red notification on his Retina display. He has 72 hours to master a new quantum encrypted coding language, or his professional validity license will be suspended. If he fails, his mortgage payment, handled automatically by a smart contract, will bounce. Look at this carefully. In 2045, learning is no longer an act of personal growth. It is a high-stakes maintenance protocol for your social existence. We once viewed education as a way to get ahead. Now it's the only way to keep from being deleted. Through AI-driven adaptive learning systems, your brain is monitored in real time to ensure you are absorbing the exact data points the market requires at that millisecond. There is no room for the humanities or the unproductive curiosity of the past. If the information doesn't immediately increase your utility metric, the system treats it as system noise. Think with me for a moment. This constant upskilling creates a state of chronic cognitive exhaustion. You never truly finish your education because the software running the world updates faster than your synapses can fire. Mandatory continuous education isn't a gift, it's a tether. The mechanism here is biometric absorption tracking. Patents already exist for devices that measure neurostim signals to confirm a student isn't just watching a video, but actually integrating the data. If your focus wavers, the system notes the inefficiency. Your reliability score takes a hit. The cost of this is the total loss of leisure. To be offline is to become obsolete. To rest is to allow your human hardware to fall behind the current version. This is where the choice vanishes. The system doesn't force you to learn at gunpoint. It simply makes the alternative, economic invisibility, unbearable. The power this technology creates is the total control over the human mind as a raw industrial resource. You are a component that requires constant patching to remain compatible with the global grid. If you stop, you break. This isn't a theory. It's the logical conclusion of education as a service. The significance is that your intellect is no longer yours to cultivate. It is a leased asset that the system manages for its own efficiency. The problem starts here. As the pace of change accelerates, the gap between the updated and the deprecated becomes an unbridgeable canyon. A whole class of people is being created, the unupgradable. Those whose biological capacity for learning cannot keep up with the algorithmic demand. They aren't fired. They just stop receiving access permissions to the modern world. Their IDs stop working at the office. Their digital wallets stop accepting high-tier credits. They become ghosts in a world of high-speed updates. This is the new social exclusion. It's not based on race or religion, but on your clock speed. And you are already feeling the pressure to keep up every time you see a new, mandatory update on your phone today. In a quiet apartment in suburban Virginia, a 67-year-old man waits for a chime from his medical hub. He needs a heart valve replacement. The AI auditor is currently cross-referencing his lifetime productivity data, his current social utility score, and his expected productive years, EPY. The chime sounds. A neutral voice informs him that his request for surgery has been deprioritized. The reason? His projected ROI for the state-funded healthcare system is below the required 12% threshold for invasive procedures. Healthcare is no longer a right, it is a calculated investment. In 2045, the system doesn't ask how much you hurt. It asks how much you're worth. Think with me. We accepted wearable health trackers for wellness, but they have evolved into the ultimate tools of bioaccounting. Every calorie you eat, every cigarette you shouldn't have smoked, and every hour of sleep you missed is a data point in your permanent bioprofile. The mechanism is predictive medical triage. If the system's AI predicts you are at high risk for a chronic condition due to non-compliant lifestyle choices, Your insurance premiums, automatically deducted from your CBDC account, spike instantly. You aren't punished for being unhealthy. You are simply charged the operational cost of your biological choices. This is where the dignity vanishes. Your body is no longer a temple. It is a depreciating asset on a government balance sheet. This power is absolute because it targets the most basic human instinct, survival. By linking health access to social utility, the system ensures that only the most productive and compliant individuals reach old age. The significance is a form of soft eugenia, driven by algorithms rather than ideologies. If you are a high-value asset, the system will provide the latest life extension therapies. If you are a cost center, you receive palliative automation. The problem starts here. The human soul is reduced to a return on investment calculation. We are being trained to see our own parents as inefficiencies that the system can no longer afford to support. Look at the mirror. This isn't some distant nightmare. It's the value-based healthcare models already being discussed in boardrooms today. The cost of this efficiency is the total dehumanization of the end of life. When your heart becomes a variable in a database, mercy becomes a market failure. The algorithm doesn't hate you, it just doesn't see a reason to keep you. And in a world where ser utile is the only way to exist, being sick is the ultimate act of social treason. The question isn't whether the technology can save you, it's whether the system thinks you are worth the electricity it takes to run the machines. Maybe the future isn't about the presence of technology, but about who still has the power to be useless to it. In 2045, the trap has finally closed. We started with the convenience of digital payments and ended with a world where you cannot buy bread without a permission to exist. The transformation is complete. We are no longer citizens of a nation. We are users of a platform. And like any platform, if you violate the terms of service, your account is suspended. But when the platform is reality itself, suspension means a total loss of access to the world. Repara Niso. The ghost class is growing. These are the people who didn't keep up with the updates, whose health scores dropped too low, or who simply questioned the logic of the algorithm once too often. They aren't in prison. They are just gone. They live in the dead zones where the 6G signal doesn't reach and the automated delivery drones don't fly. They have regained their freedom, but at the cost of everything we call civilization. The ultimate consequence of this 2045 system is the death of the unmeasurable human. Anything that cannot be tracked, optimized, or sold is treated as a defect that must be refined out of existence. This is where the discomfort becomes a mirror. Every time you choose the convenience of an app over the friction of a human interaction, you are building the bricks of this wall. Every time you accept a personalized recommendation without asking how they knew what you wanted, you are training the judge that will eventually decide your value. The power doesn't belong to a shadow government or a rogue AI. It belongs to the system of incentives we all agreed to because it made our lives 5% easier. We traded our sovereignty for a slightly faster checkout line. The problem ends here, and the reality assumes control. The final question isn't about the technology of 2045. It's about you. If the system decided tomorrow that you were no longer useful, if your productivity dipped, your health failed, or your opinions became a metric of risk, who would stand for you? Not the government. They own the algorithm, not the company, they built it. And certainly not the machine. It doesn't even know you exist. It only knows your data. Perhaps the most radical thing you can do in the next 20 years isn't to innovate, but to remain someone who cannot be fully calculated. Because in the end, the only thing the system cannot control is the person who is willing to walk away from the grid. But are you?